We are just going to give it a moment so the waiting room clears. Please make sure you mute it as you enter. All right, for those of you presenting, please make sure your audio and video are functioning. All right, let's get started. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the Boston Cannabis Board, the BCB. Today is March 13th, 2024. Today's hearing is being conducted pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. This is what allows us to meet virtually. This hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review some procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Thank you, Jasmine. Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Cannabis Board. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Commissioner Lisa Holmes, Commissioner John Smith, Commissioner Gabriel Camacho, Commissioner Ramon Soto, and Commissioner Sonal Gandhi.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce. My name is Jasmine Nguyen, and I am the Boston Cannabis Board Manager. I will begin by calling each item in the order they appear on the agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the proposal before us. For today's hearing, we only have amendments to already approved licenses. We do not have any new license applications being heard today. Each item will have 5 minutes to present to the BCB, followed by questions from the board members. We will then take public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives, followed by the general public. If you wish to testify, please sign up via the link that we'll put in the chat. If you have done so already, you do not have to do it again. Additionally, you can use the chat function to request to testify as well. Please wait until the matter in which you would like to speak on is called. Do not use the chat function to give testimony. It will not be considered. Please state your full name, address, and affiliation, if any. Testimony will be limited to 2 minutes, which at that time you will be muted. Additional testimony may be submitted in writing to cannabisboard@boston.gov. The record will be kept open until Tuesday, March 19th at 5 p.m. The BCB does not give any more weight to spoken testimony than it does written testimony. We will begin with our first item. The licensee is Nudia Fenway LLC, DBA Nudia. The license premise is 48 to 62 Brookline Avenue, Fenway, Kenmore. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license, and they are requesting to amend their operating hours. The current hours are 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. All patrons out by 11:30, 7 days a week. The proposed hours of operation are 10 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Ms. Nguyen. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the applicant with us on his behalf. Their behalf is Ross Bradshaw, the principal of Nudia Fenway. My address is 28 State Street. I'm an attorney representing Nudia before you today. Good afternoon, rather, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The application was actually before the board, the same application in August of 2023. We had our hearing on August 9th, requesting that the hours at that time go from a 9 p.m. closing to a midnight closing. And the board on August 16th allowed the extension to 11 p.m. with all patrons out by 11:30. It's our belief that during the course of that hearing, that decision was made with regard to allowing the board to see if the applicant or the licensee could remain open later without any issues or difficulties. We come before you today with unaware of any issues or problems at the establishment. They've been very well run and operated. We had initial outreach for the August hearing. We reached out to ONS to see if any additional outreach would be required. They determined that it would not be, since it's the same request that we made in the earlier application. So the community was well informed of what we were asking for. We did notify and discuss this with the Kenmore Association, who attended the abutters meeting. They had no issues. We notified and discussed it with our neighbor immediately across the street, the Fenway Park and the Red Sox, who had no opposition. And we also reached out and discussed it with the Fenway Civic Association at that time, who also had no opposition to the request. And again, that would be the initial request to ask for the midnight closing, which again, the board granted us the 11, all out by 11:30. We hope with an eye towards seeing if we could operate well, and I think we have. That really is the request before you today to extend that closing hour from 11 to midnight. And Mr. Bradshaw, I can't see him on the screen. I believe he's present. Yes, Ms. Nguyen is indicating yes, he is.
Yes, ma'am.
So there he is. So if we have any questions, we are certainly happy to answer them for you whenever you're ready. Mr. Bradshaw, do you want to perhaps just state, have you any issues with your operations in the time between August and today with the later hour?
No, I think Dennis, you did a great job summarizing where we are today, and we heard the BCB loud and clear last time in August, and I think over the last couple of months, we've been able to prove that we are great and compliant operators, and we have requests now before you to extend those hours.
All right, thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I do. Can you describe for us today, what the operations are like from 9 until 11 now? What are the crowds like? You must track customers who come in the evening. Could you give us a better picture of why you're looking for this additional hour, what the need is as a business owner in this neighborhood?
Yeah, so within this particular neighborhood, any day of the week, it's really all over the place. And primary right now, what determines that traffic or the folks that are in the community, it being the off season, is the concerts, whether it's the House of Blues or MGM. So it could be a random Tuesday night, and depending upon the popularity of the artist, we could have anywhere from like 7,000 people between those two different venues that are in the area. Just about every Friday and Saturday night, that's when we typically see a lot of the college kids that come out around 10 p.m. And then with baseball season, I would imagine some of those 7 p.m. games, those probably wouldn't be getting out to 10:30 or 11. So for us, the additional hour of time will allow us, one, to take online orders, folks that are getting out of those concert venues or getting out of their games, and then also getting some of the college kids that would be going to the bars or going home from people that are working at the Fenway at the baseball field. So for us, it really is. We've been trying to grasp and deal with a lot of different things in the community, but one of the things that we realize with our particular area is a late night crowd. We are open at 10 a.m. and I would say 10 a.m. to about 4 p.m. is significantly slow. But as soon as folks get out of work, as soon as people are starting to gather for late night activities and dinner, that's when we start to pick up. And that's ultimately where we see the majority of the volume of our business.
And Madam Chair, if I could just add to that, it's a particularly one of a kind street, if you will, and neighborhood, given that almost every other business on the street, including Fenway Park, have 2 a.m. closing hours. As you certainly know from your position on the licensing board, the street is full of restaurants and bars and entertainment venues, House of Blues, MGM, and every one of the bars and restaurants have 2 a.m. closing hours. So it really is, and it's just an unusual situation. I don't think there's another street in the entire city that has that number of 2 a.m. Licensed establishments. So it really is just an opportunity to be able to serve the public who are much later in this area than they might be somewhere else in the city.
Thanks, that's helpful. And just one follow-up question. So your testimony today is that you're busiest from 4 p.m. on. From 4 p.m. on, how many of your sales would you say originate as online orders?
It varies. So I would say maybe 40 to 50%.
Okay.
But once again, that could all change in the next couple of months with baseball season. This will be the first full baseball season will be open. So, the difficult part, as Dennis mentioned, with this location is it's a season. It's not a seasonal business, but from month to month to month, it's a completely different landscape that we're dealing with. So to answer your question, that number could significantly vary in one direction or the other over the course of the next 2-3 months.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Camacho?
Yes. Do you anticipate an increase in sales for that 1 hour extra
Significantly.
significantly.
Yes, because right now we missed a lot of the folks, patrons that are leaving the concerts, and I would imagine with the baseball, with the Red Sox back in season as well, that significant amount of people that we're missing that are actually heading home. And unfortunately, before a game, they can't come to our establishment. Before a concert, they can't come to our establishment. So really, the window of opportunity is as they're leaving those venues.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Soto?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Gandhi?
Hi, just two quick questions. One, do you have the staff to adequately staff that extra hour, the 11 to 12 hour? And two, I think I think I know the answer to this, but do you depend only on foot traffic in that there's no parking for what's the closest parking that folks can park in, or is it all foot traffic that you're depending on for your customers?
Yeah, I guess another difficult question. I would say to answer the later part of your question first. Right now, if any of you have been down to the Fenway area, they are doing construction everywhere. So the parking that we would have able to utilize is actually being occupied by construction vehicles. So it's a little hectic down there. So I'd say yes, majority of all the traffic we're seeing right now is on foot. But I think that is heightened by the fact that it's just a little chaotic down there with people prepping for the baseball season and then also mass construction underway before season opener. And then the other part of that is because we do anticipate a higher volume with baseball season and warmer weather, we have adequate staff now, but we are ramping up and hiring folks. And ideally, it's folks that want late night hours, right? So folks that might be looking for a second shift. Folks that have access to get home after a later shift. So similar to what you would see in a bar or restaurant, folks that are used to those late night hours.
Thank you. No additional questions.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yeah, I did have one because I was listening. So you in your slow period, which sounds like for you is early day, right? Anytime like in the mornings till 4 p.m. Will you consider altering those hours so you can, have later? Because it sounds like right now you're having a lot of dead time. So is that an option, or are you just gonna run the whole day, and if you just have dead time, just have dead time?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's difficult too. One, because we're coming up on warmer weather, right? So we're hoping that might also pick up during the day, but then also we may have some day games, right? So it's
Yeah,
not like
okay.
it's so unpredictable in that
I got
neighborhood.
you. So can I ask another? Would you then be maybe considering after maybe baseball season or the summer season, bringing your hours back down? Or would you want to keep the midnight all the time?
We would want to keep them because, all honesty, even during the off season, there's a lot of late night folks that come out. Whether it's people that work at the hospitals, people working at the bars and restaurants. So we've been able to consistently, even throughout the off season, see a lot of late night folks. So that has really been our go-to. So ideally, we'd like to keep the hours throughout the year.
Okay, and is it mostly online orders, or you do get a lot of foot traffic?
At nighttime, it's about both. Right now,
Okay.
I'd say it's about both. It could just be people rushing and knowing that they're not going to, they don't really have much time to peruse around the store. So that could be a factor.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jasmine, and my apologies to everyone for being off camera. You said that they can't come before, you made a statement about folks can't come before concerts or games or something like that. Why can't they come?
Well, they can, but they can't bring that product into those venues. So what we tend to find is people are buying, they have to rush to their car to drop off their product. So it somewhat is an inconvenience if they're in a rush.
They can't bring it into the venues. And usually the venues are closing between like 1:30 and 2, right?
The music venues, no. I think there's a city ordinance that they can't play music until music after midnight. So usually what happens is those concerts, if it's a later crowd, the 21 plus, they'll usually won't get out until about 11:30, 11:45.
But not to interrupt, but the establishments, the House of Blues and the MGM each have 2 a.m. licenses.
Yeah. because in a different time I used to do that. But just wondering, then will you come back to us and say we need to extend to 1, or you're comfortable with midnight, or because there's still a crowd, right, that needs to be accommodated till around 1 a.m.
Correct. My understanding is state regulations. The latest establishment can be open is 12
It's
a.m.
still midnight. Okay, so you'll be good with midnight. And can you tell us now, between like 10 and 11, what your volume is like? Like, how much foot traffic are you getting? How many people?
It varies. I would imagine, for instance, this upcoming May and April, we have a lot of college graduations. If we have, if a House of Blues concert's getting out and if that's a primary 21 plus crowd, I mean, we could see 50, 60 people with 70 people within a half an hour. That's just because,
How many and how many are you seeing now between 10 and 11?
No, I'd say we probably see anywhere from, it depends once again on those concerts. So it's hard to say an average, but I would say on a slow day, yeah, we'd be looking probably 10 to 15 to 20. But that
Right.
that could easily jump. And we're probably missing folks that just aren't, getting out of work and don't have the opportunity to. So I imagine we could double that, especially if we get out there and we do the marketing awareness to let folks know. We just haven't had that opportunity.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions from any of the board members? No. So we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representative.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Some background information on the community process. ONS hosted a butters meeting on June 23rd, where no concerns were raised in that meeting. The applicant has consistently been in contact with the Kenmore Association and the Fenway Civic Association. The FCA expressed their support for this proposal. At this time, our office is unaware of any concerns. With that, we'd like to defer to the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you, Connor. Kennedy from Councilor Durkin's office.
Thank you, Manager Nguyen and Commissioners. The councilor is actually here, so to provide comments.
As a District 8 City Councilor, I am writing to express my support for the amendment for New Dia's recreational cannabis dispensary license to change the current hours of operation from 10 to 11, 7 days a week, to midnight, 7 days a week. New Dia has been a welcome neighbor in the Fenway since it opened its doors last year. It is uniquely situated at the corner of Brookline Ave and Lansdowne Street across from Fenway Park and serves residents and visitors alike. The area is popular during all hours of the day with many thriving businesses and public transportation options. As I urge all cannabis businesses in District 8, I ask that the operators continue their focus on continued vigilance that are created by their patrons. As a District 8 Councilor, it's my job to ensure that businesses contribute to the vibrancy of our community and diverse retail environment and are able to best serve their customers. The expansion of operating hours in an entertainment district with vibrant activity already permitted for late night, early morning hours will positively add activity in the neighborhood. And I urge the Boston Cannabis Board to support the applicant's request for extended hours. And sorry for my voice. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. Is there anyone else that would like to testify on this matter? All right, seeing no one else, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you, members of the board, Madam Chair, and Ms. Nguyen.
Thank you.
Our next matter, the licensee is Holland Brands SB LLC, DBA Native Sun. The license premise is 115 K Street, also known as 538 East First Street, South Boston. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The request is to amend the operating hours. The current hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The proposed hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Jeff, my name is Jeff Karabalad. I am the manager of Holland Brands.
Okay. You will have 5 minutes. You may begin.
My name is Jeff Karabalad. I'm manager of Holland Brands. I've been in business in the city of Boston for 42 years. We are here today to request a change in hours. Our current hours are from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and we are requesting to change our hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. based on our customer demand. As demonstrated in the materials that were submitted to the board and shown here on the screen, these hours are consistent with nearby operators, both in the cannabis space, but also in nearby businesses. What began as a blighted, abandoned, and shuttered manufacturing facility with dead trees and overgrown grass poking through the parking lot in the shadows of Eversource's transformer farm has been transformed into a vibrant operation employing local Boston residents, serving and generating over $300,000 in taxes since just opening months ago. We have made a significant investment into the facility and the neighborhood. We completely renovated the location, including removing dead and dangerous trees and planting 59 new trees. The build out was top notch, as you can see from these pictures, and as weather allows, we will continue to make site improvements. We are extremely proud of our voluntary contributions, and I say to the South Boston community, including donations to South Boston Neighborhood House, the South Boston Association of Nonprofits, the Cape Verdean Association in South Boston, the South Boston Sports Collaborative, as well as other things like helping out with the South Boston Toy Drive during Christmas. In terms of nonprofit space, within our facility, we began working immediately, and I say immediately because this was badly disseminated information by the neighbors and the consortium of nonprofits in South Boston after meeting with Councilors Flynn, Flaherty, and Senator Collins. We met with Kathy on site twice, and I've spoken with her on multiple occasions. They are currently raising funds to cover their opening and build out expenses. In addition, Native Sun since opening has made good on another voluntary commitment by advertising on its website free parking for abutters who can park overnight within our parking area while we are closed. This started day one. Unfortunately, the road back to this board since March of 2021 has not been a pleasant one. After the ZBA initially denied our application back in 2021, we were forced to spend over $1 million to go to court, not once, but twice, wherein the first time the court determined that the ZBA had acted arbitrarily and capricious in denying the application and ordered the permits be issued. The second time, the court determined that the neighbors seeking to appeal that ruling had no standing to do so. As you can see from the blue shading on this zoning map, we are located in a predominantly commercial and industrial zone. Despite the fact that approximately 37,917 residents in South Boston voted by 68% in 2016 to legalize cannabis for adults, we are being harassed by 25 or so residents who live across the street who have been against this project from the very beginning. At our recent abutters meeting, those residents repeatedly called us liars, saying that we were going back on our commitment to give away the space to the community, that we went back on our commitment to allow free parking during the operating hours, and that we deliberately destroyed healthy trees. All these statements are untrue, defamatory, and the continued harassment is causing undue anxiety and stress from the entire team. This anxiety and stress has inhibited our team's initiative, causing them to second guess every decision in fear of reprisal from our neighbors. We want to thank this board for believing in us 3 years ago when we first appeared here. I hope you will grant our request to normalize our hours to that of other operators. We want to expand our hours based on our customer demand and to continue to reduce the potential of queuing, although there have been no lines on queuing to date. But what I really hope might happen, more generally speaking, is an end to the harassment by anti-cannabis crusaders who continue to attack the cannabis business like ours, who are simply trying to operate during a very difficult time for this industry. Thank you for hearing us on this topic. And thank you again for your board's early signal of support before. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Can you describe for us what you think this need is for the 8 a.m. opening? Where do you think those customers are coming from?
Chairwoman Joyce, Leslie Delaney Hawkins, counsel for the licensee. I'm also here with Charlie Yon, who is the chief of staff, and Matt Gamble, who is our chief operating officer, who will be able to answer some of the questions. Obviously, our client has invested a significant amount of time and money in this endeavor, and I just want to facilitate any questions and answers. In terms of the opening, this is all based on customer demand. This is not a competition issue. Obviously, there are no other establishments located in the immediate area. This is simply what we're hearing from our customers, that they would like just not dissimilar, but a different situation from the prior operator. They want to be able to purchase this legally available product at a time that is convenient to them. And we believe these proposed hours of operation, based on their feedback, allow us to do that and to fulfill that need.
Again, the 8 o'clock start though, who are you envisioning is driving over and purchasing the cannabis at 8 a.m.? Like, who are you losing out on between 8 and 9 a.m.?
The vast majority of our clients are actually not driving to the establishment. I can defer to Matt Gamble, who is here to talk about percentages in terms of what we think the increase in patrons would be. Matt, could you speak to that?
Absolutely. We have a lot of customers who are commuting, and there are residential areas near the location. At our other stores, we open at 7 and 8 in the morning. And when we made that change, we saw not a large uptick in customers, but there certainly are people out there who want to pick up cannabis before they head to work or are returning from a night shift job and want to purchase some as they're getting home and getting ready to go to bed.
Okay, and how many parking spots do neighbors use right now?
To date, we've had no requests via the form published on our website for parking in the lot.
I kind of lost you there. What was
Sorry.
that?
To date, we've had no requests through the form we published on our website for overnight parking on the lot.
Okay, and we're not talking about this today, but I'm just curious, since I have you as an audience, the permanent signage package, when will that be submitted to the city if it hasn't been already?
We're in the process of getting all the shop drawings and design documents prepared for that. I don't have a specific date for you when it'll be submitted, but it is in process and will be soon.
Okay, just because I don't have any expertise with zoning, and we won't be a part of that conversation. What are maybe Attorney Delaney Hawkins can describe for me, who's not an expert, what is the, can you guess what the time frame is of that? I mean, it's a tension with the community, it was a tension with me, and I keep getting soon, but I don't know what that means in cannabis terms.
I believe the timeline that was provided was within 60 days, and we are finalizing those plans. We'll be filing them with the BPDA, but we will keep the board apprised as soon as that is filed.
Okay.
I may jump in. This is Charlie Yon, Chief of Staff. Thank you to the chair and the board for hearing our presentation. We anticipate submitting sort of our initial packet to the permitter that we're working with later today, tomorrow, and hopefully submitting early next week.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Those are my questions for now. I may have more after the public testimony, but those are my questions for now.
Commissioner Camacho?
I do not have any questions for the moment.
Commissioner Soto?
Sorry, no questions at this time.
Commissioner Gandhi?
Yeah, thank you. I actually have some questions about the parking. And And so I know you just mentioned that no requests were received for overnight parking on the lot, but how many parking spaces are available for customers? And what is your volume? I'm looking to kind of traffic impact, et cetera, and folks not parking on the street who are your customers. So can you talk a little bit about the parking for your customers on the site?
Matt or Charlie, could you please advise?
I can answer that. I can answer that question. There's 32 parking spaces on site. I believe it's more than any other cannabis facility in the city of Boston by far. We are never more than a third filled. There are no traffic issues. Nobody is parking on the street. There's no traffic. There's no lines. It's an open parking lot pretty much anytime somebody drives over there.
And where does your staff park?
Staff, a lot of the staff commutes. We have additional parking off-site if needed. Right now, a few of them can park on site. We're just nowhere near capacity. We don't believe we'll ever be able to be at capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Commissioner Holmes?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Jasmine. No questions.
Okay. Chair Joyce, did you have any additional questions, or you want to move on to?
We can move on to the public testimony. Thank you.
We will begin with elected officials or their representatives.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the board. Lydia Klasky with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. The Mayor's Office would like to go on record to formally oppose this proposal based on overwhelming community opposition, including formal letters of opposition from 5 South Boston civic organizations, Friends of North of Broadway, West Broadway Neighborhood Association, Dorchester Heights Neighborhood Association, Andrew Square Civic Association, and City Point Neighborhood Association. Furthermore, we have also received opposition from 157 abutters and other South Boston residents, in addition to 15 letters received from South Boston residents. Specific points of concern raised by the neighborhood and abutters via letters, calls, community meetings, and via the abutters meeting posted by my office on February 28th are as follows. Applicants' lack of communication with residents to resolve issues as they occur and honor promises made. Neighborhood concerns over quality of life issues in association with the proposal at hand, such as compounded noise, traffic, and safety concerns impacting this residential corridor earlier in the morning and later in the evening. In a short amount of time this business has been in operation, we have received numerous complaints from neighbors, including but not limited to an uptick of litter around the site, employee consumption of product directly outside of the location, and an account of an employee using the parking lot as a restroom, all in addition to other documented concerns forwarded to this body. Lastly, whatever decision the board makes at this time, we hope the applicant will take the necessary steps to share a robust landscaping plan and work to respond to community concerns. With that, we would like to conclude with and underscore opposition to this proposal on behalf of the Mayor's Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura, from Council of Friends.
Thank you, Jasmine. Good afternoon, Madam Chairs and members of the board. I will now read the letter of opposition from Council of Flynn's office. Dear members of the Boston Cannabis Board, I write in opposition to Holland Brand's Native Sons application for extension of store hours. This application has received significant opposition from residents due to concerns that Native Son has not demonstrated the ability to be a good neighbor and display an overall lack of concern when it comes to quality of life issues. This application has received opposition from South Boston civic groups, including the Friends of North of Broadway in the immediate area. Native Sun, located at 115 K Street, 538 East First Street, has drawn opposition from abutters since it was first proposed, due to this being a high traffic area that is located in a residential part of the neighborhood, which abuts industrial areas with vehicles, trucks, and buses traveling frequently on the street. Since its opening, Native Sun has shown a lack of concern for the quality of life of the residents. Most recently, despite having trees shown in all of its renderings and speaking about using trees as shrubs as a buffer between the dispensary and the residential areas, Native Sun cut down more than 20 mature trees around the dispensary. Moreover, Native Sun subsequently put up large banners surrounding the fence area promoting the dispensary despite not going through the process and having appropriate permits to do so. These actions caused alarm for the community and led to my office contacting both the Inspectional Services Department and Boston Licensing Board. Native Sun has not displayed the track record of a good neighbor thus far, and they have been unwilling to cooperate or even abide by the rules. In my view, granting them an extension of store hours would not benefit the neighborhood and will be viewed as rewarding this behavior. There has been strong opposition to this application from the impacted neighbors and my constituents, and I continue to lend my voice to their opposition as well. If you have any questions, please reach out to my office at ed.flynn@boston.gov or 617-635-3203. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Laura. Are there any other elected officials or their representatives? All right, we'll move to public testimony. I'm going to begin with those that signed up. The first thing I have, and I apologize if I pronounced the name wrong, is Arvid.
Yes, hello. You actually pronounced it perfectly. Thank you.
All right, can you state your name and address, and you will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Arvid Von Taub. I live directly across the street at 535 East First Street. I would encourage the honorable board members to watch the community meeting. You know, there were a lot of things said by this applicant that continue to be untrue, including the map showing what's commercial and what's residential in the area. It also doesn't take into account the numerous new, residential developments that are coming in place. Most notably, though, I noticed the map that was shown in the presentation still has my building and the two buildings next to us as commercial. They've since become residential in the last 15 years. So this is very much a residential area. You know, the businesses that are here, the sort of light industrial, commercial, they're open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So, you know, it's all well and good that there's other businesses in South Boston, in Boston, that may be open till 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. You know, there's nothing on this street in particular that's open past 4 or 5 o'clock at night. It doesn't open before 9 a.m. And I would just finally conclude, you know, at a time when we have a climate crisis, those were 20 or so healthy trees. At our community abutters meeting a few weeks ago, the reason stated by Native Sun that they cut them down is so people could see the building, so that they could see the store. It's not that they were unhealthy. I would encourage the board members to look at the stumps, and we can send pictures. They're very healthy trees. You know, and as far as the resident parking in the lot goes, we were never informed that there was a link we could sign up on the website. So it may be there, it may not be. I've never heard of that before. I don't know if anyone else has. So it'd been nice if they would have told us. Thank you very much. I'm opposed.
Thank you. The next name I have is Brendan.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Brendan Albert, Direct Abutter across from Native Sun at 547. I'm a member of Friends of North of Broadway Neighborhood Association, and I'm opposed to the request for extended business hours. Our street is residential and industrial. East First Street is not East Broadway. It is not a retail corridor. It is not zoned for large-scale retail. The ZBA agreed with the First Street neighbors twice in the summer of 2021. The hours being proposed here would eclipse Dorgan's Liquor Store and Stop and Shop, both on East Broadway. Since opening in October, public consumption of cannabis by Native Son employees and their customers has been an ongoing daily issue. People can be seen smoking First Street, at the nearby Boston Harbor Walk, at the park, around the neighborhood, and some customers continuing to smoke up to and on East Broadway. An approval of extended hours will only deepen the impact on quality of life, and not just on East First Street. As discussed with the C6 Community Service Office, many neighbors have called C6 and/or called 911 to make and tell these reports. Trash and littering has also increased. You'll find go bags with the Native Son logo left on sidewalks and curb lines. Extending hours will increase this public nuisance activity as well. Other concerns with extended hours is safety and noise. First Street is mostly quiet at night with families and children. There'll be real life impacts when people make their way to the dispensary late in the evening. Recently, 26 mature shade trees were cut down, and the property line was wrapped with a full height banner advertised.
I think we lost Brendan. The next name I have is Kate. It's Kate. I believe the last name is Gutierrez. Okay. The next person I have is Maria Malone.
Hi, this is Kate. Can you hear me?
Yep. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, board. My name is Kate Gutierrez, and I'm here today with two hats on. First, as a volunteer leader representing the Friends of North of Broadway Neighborhood Association. On behalf of our members, we oppose Holland Brand's Native Son and ask that you reject this request to extend hours. Second, I am here as a direct abutter and owner of a single family home at 547 East First Street, where I have lived since 2010. One of the false arguments that the attorneys and team like to use is that even though we live in a residential district, we live in a residential district across from an industrial subdistrict. And yes, we agree, we do indeed live across from an industrial subdistrict, and that has always been precisely our point. When we chose to build our lives on First Street, it was because it was across from an industrial subdistrict and not across from or within a retail district. We chose intentionally to not live on Broadway, which is South Boston's primary retail thoroughfare. We chose to live in a zone with a long history of manufacturing, where people make things like custom wood cabinets or steel sculpture that becomes public art, or what had been made at 538 East First Street for more than 50 years, nuts and bolts. We choose to live where people work Monday through Friday and close up shop by 5 p.m. We choose to live in a district where there are no retail businesses and everything shut down for peaceful quiet on Saturdays and Sundays. We chose to live across a low-lying building with historic charm, a beautiful brick facade surrounded by a brick parking lot with tall, long-standing, leafy shade trees lining the property's perimeter. These applicants have paved over the brick parking lot, spray painted the brick facade, wrapped it in plastic banners. They now operate their retail megamart 81 hours, 7 days a week. They have chopped down all the trees. It has been a sad shame to watch all that has happened with this case. We do believe that the city of Boston deserves better and that this industry deserves better and can and should do better than Holland Brand's Native Son. I'm opposed. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. The next name is Maria Malone.
Thank you, Maria Malone, 525 East First Street. I'm also a property owner and directly across the street from the site. I also have invested a significant amount of time, energy, and dollars in my neighborhood and have been opposed to this project from the beginning. This organization has continued to behave in a manner where they ask for forgiveness rather than seek permission. It has been noted that there have been several instances of inconsistencies or outright untruths in testimonies they've given, materials they've presented. In particular today, it was noted that 59 new trees were planted, when in fact, the only thing that has been planted is arborvitae shrubs, half of which are dying. And this has no, connection to the site plan that they presented in numerous hearings leading up to their original application. They also had noted many, many times that there would be six-figure donations to the neighborhood. And even in today's presentation, we didn't approach that. This parking has been cited from day one as a true benefit to us neighbors and to the neighborhood, when in fact, who gets home after 11 o'clock at night to be able to use that parking? It's just not a benefit. And frankly, one of our neighbors did go into your establishment and asked about the parking and was, not given any substantial information about it to be able to put in a request. I also want to comment on the litigation that has occurred. It is constantly misconstrued as to what happened. As Brendan mentioned earlier, the Zoning Board of Appeals denied their change of use twice, after which the applicant decided to sue the city. For reasons unbeknownst to me, the city put up no defense and left the judge with no option other than to side with the applicant. That does not mean that the ZBA's previous two decisions were not appropriate. I am strongly opposed to the extension of hours for all the reasons that have already been cited and those which have been submitted to you via writing. I beg you to please deny this request, as it will continue to create friction and deterioration of the neighborhood that we've worked so hard to care for and to cultivate as one that is welcome and open to people of all types, families, and those that want to enjoy our street. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I do see a hand raised, Luann.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members. My name is Luann O'Connor, and I'm the president of the City Point Neighborhood Association. I have been attending the abutters meetings for Native Son, and the conclusion that has come out is that there is no need for expansion of hours. The people that live on First Street, it has actually become a neighborhood. Article 68 clearly states what the uses are. So please do review that. And as you go down First Street, more and more housing is being built, like hundreds of units. So this isn't an area that is just all industrial. These are people's homes. Children live there now. And there is no reason to expand. And my concern is that really at this point in time, it's a money grab. If you listen to the last abutters meeting, the proponent and the attorney clearly stated really why they shouldn't have expansion hours. They kind of shot themselves in the foot, and that abutters meeting really aired on the side of the direct abutters, if you listen to that. The cruise terminal is opening up soon. I think it's already processing. It's right down the street. So that's why I think that this is a money grab, to bring hundreds of people into this neighborhood at 11 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock in the morning. It's just not feasible. The proponent stated one of the reasons that they needed this is because nurses and construction workers, that's quote, need to have the ability to come and purchase product. I disagree with that. If the place is there, it's up and operating. It is a large retail, almost supermarket, like a marijuana supermarket, 10 registers, 36 parking spots. And at this point in time, there's no reason to expand it. They need to operate within their existing hours, and it's not do first and ask forgiveness later. and that's what they're asking for. So with that, I ask that you deny the expansion of hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim, I do see your hand raised, but I just want to make sure we get all public testimony before we let you speak to.
Jeff, it's Jeff, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, that's all right.
Is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony? All right, see no one. Jeff, you may respond.
And actually, Manager Nguyen, Leslie Delaney Hawkins, I'm going to jump in here before Jeff testifies. This testimony is not just egregious, it's slanderous. It's simply inaccurate. As noted from the vast majority of individuals who testified today, they've opposed this proposal from its inception. The courts have now twice denied their respective appeals, costing this licensee over $1 million. This licensee who has invested in this property, has invested in this city, and has made a good faith effort to employ residents to give back to the community. We disagree with honestly everything that's being stated at this point. There has been no evidence. There's not only not been a violation hearing of any of these allegations of public consumption, trash, quality of life issues. There's never been a violation that's been found. I'm honestly not sure what a marijuana supermarket is, but this is in line with many other establishments throughout the city. This is not a question of competition. This is a question of this establishment, which has no history of actual violations, being treated as any similarly situated establishment throughout the city of Boston. And that's all we're asking for today. Many establishments have been approved for increases in their hours. And the argument that this is not in line with the character of the neighborhood, there is an establishment with an all alcoholic beverages license with a closing hour of 2 a.m., a stone's throw from this establishment. We're happy to provide the board with written materials regarding all of this. The trees that were removed in part because of the storms. They had fallen. We can provide photographic evidence of that. They were unhealthy trees and they were shrubs. We planted, I believe, 69 trees for a net increase, even if you count the shrubs, of 21. There's also no legal obligation on private property to notify or request permission for any sort of landscaping. We're happy to continue communicating with the community, but at this point, it seems like a small majority, and I say majority, of these immediate abutters are very vocal, they're well-funded, and they're incredibly litigious. The surrounding community, this board voted, yes, Jeff.
Something happened here.
I think you froze. Jeff, are you still with us?
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
Jeff,
Sorry.
Jumping in here?
Yeah, let me jump in for a minute. Look, I am going to try and be as respectful as I can. I implore the board. I've been in business in this city for 42 years with an exceptional reputation. I implore the board to visit this site anytime, and I mean anytime, day or night. And you will find that what these abutters are saying are just outright lies. They outright lied in the public meeting, which I could not attend. There is no pot smoking on our property. Somebody was smoking a cigarette, they called the police, no fines, no nothing. There is no urination on our property. There is no litter. Our site is clean. Because the public comes in, there was trash put on our site. I believe it was by National Grid or Eversource, not by us. We maintain our site as we do the building and the inside of the building. The two lawsuits, the judge ruled to issue these permits because the decisions made by the zoning board were arbitrary and capricious. One of the reasons for that is there was no foundation, none by the abutters given for traffic, noise, that there would be lines, any of this. None of it is true. Absolutely none of this is true. They then go to harass us about voluntary commitments. Now, these commitments were made on the basis that the city and the neighborhood were going to get behind us, and we were all going to become good neighbors. Good neighbor agreement. What happened is they went to zoning, they shut us out. We had to file a lawsuit, and they were annihilated in the first lawsuit. In the second lawsuit, the judge stated they have no standing. This facility is going to exist. When they talk about trees, we could show you the pictures again. Major limbs were falling off these trees. We have multiple pictures of this. We planted, as somebody said, shrubs. These aren't shrubs. These are trees. We're happy to give you documentation. The gentleman who said because of the carbon footprint, we planted 59 or 69 new trees. There is no traffic, there is no lines. The Fenway is a residential neighborhood where there are tens of thousands of residents and condominiums. This is my business, where I build and develop and have been doing this in the city. It is so highly offensive to me that anybody can say anything without justification, and everybody is buying into this. People who live across the street sit on these boards. None of these boards at the initial meeting came out against this facility. Since we've been open for 4 months or something, there are no fines, there are no issues. The signs that we put up are not illegal. They're temporary signs and they're not illegal. Nobody has told us that they are illegal. We were asked to take some of them down. We did. We are filing for permanent signs. Let me talk about the public benefits. These public benefits are going to stop because the neighbors want it both ways. Don't make any money, but give to the community. I would suggest to you in 4 months, we've given more to this community than any other business in the community. And I challenge anybody to tell me differently. In addition to that, both Ed Flynn, Councilor Flaherty, and Senator Collins all asked me to go to Kathy Lafferty, and I call it the Consortium of Nonprofits in Southie. And we've spent a lot of time with Kathy trying to get her into this space. They need to raise money. Why don't the neighbors across the street help raise this money? I'd love to see what they do for the community besides sit on a board and harass good businesses.
Okay, Jeff, I'm gonna cut you off. I see the chair.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just passionate about this. It's, you know, how many lawsuits do we have to win for everybody to realize we are a good business and an allowed use? Thank you very much, everybody.
Kathleen, you have chair.
Yeah, just some comments that I want to make sure I am understanding correctly. And I do want to say for the record, when there was an issue about the temporary signage, I got on the phone with the attorneys for Native Son, and within 5 minutes, they agreed to take the fines down. So I appreciate the cooperation on that. And Mr. Karabulat is correct. He didn't have to do that. It was something he did. I asked him to do. Second, I understand the community space. You've been working with these groups to get a community group in there. So I know you're actively working on that. As far as a business goes, it's only been open for 4 months. I can see sometimes these things take longer. Your commitments about, someone had said you're supposed to make 6-figure commitments to the community. Again, you've only been open since October. So just putting that out there to put into perspective for people. And I do just want to note for the record, because we did look up our first hearing, and again, your annual renewal won't be up until next October, but at that point, we will be looking for some documentation of this community, of the community benefits, but until then, we don't need that. There was one other thing. There was the signage, there was the, and I think that that's important to note, that the parking spaces are available. I mean, people need to take advantage of that or not, but it sounds like you've met that commitment there. But again, you've only been open since October. This board hasn't entertained a lot of extensions of hours. in that short period of time. So that's something that I'm trying to take into consideration. I understand that you say your business is driven, you know, you could get more business driven with those extension of hours, but it is something I take into consideration that here we are presented with a business that has only been open a couple of months. So an extension of hours is something I'll have to take a really careful look at. The previous applicant has been before us now twice for an extension of hours, and they were not granted it the first time. Those are my comments.
Any additional comments from the board members? No, any final comments from the licensing?
No, thank you very much. We appreciate the board's time, and we'll be submitting supplemental correspondence here.
Can you hear me?
Is Jeff, I thought you're frozen.
What, I'm frozen? Oh.
Now you're back.
Okay. I just like to make one final comment, if you don't mind. Is it all right?
If it just can be brief.
It'll be brief.
Okay.
These voluntary commitments that we made were on the basis that we were going to get community support, both from the city of Boston and the neighbors. Now, we've still lived up to these commitments, these voluntary commitments, but unless we can become profitable, it's impossible for us to make any voluntary commitments. They have to live up to their end of this, chairperson. I'm not sure how to address you, but am I still frozen?
You're in and out, so
I don't know why this is happening.
It's a little spotty.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. This is not a one-way street. We're not going to continue to give back to people who want to fight us and cost us an enormous amount of money. In fact, we can't. And I'm sure this board realizes that this industry is in a very difficult position right now. So we're happy to live up to our end of the commitment, but we need others to live up to theirs. And it's not going to be a one-way street. I appreciate everybody's time and effort, and apologize for all the issues created by the neighbors.
Okay. Thank you. Chair Joyce, we have a couple of the community members that would like to speak again. I don't know if you want, or do you want to wrap this up?
I'm fine with letting them speak again if it's short and to the point.
First hand is Kate.
I thank you, Chairperson Joyce and commissioners. I would just like to say, ask if you could, thank you for taking the time to read the letter that I sent yesterday, dated March 12th, which also includes as an attachment the letter that I sent in March 2021. And a lot has been said here today. And we beg you to watch the videos and read what exists. And you can even read the court testimony if you like. Thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
And the final person is Brendan.
Hi, just a couple things. I know Mr. Carabalek called the neighbors liars, so I guess we'll be calling him liars back. He doesn't live in the city of Boston. He lives in the suburbs, so he doesn't know what happened on this first street. But if you go to C6, if you go down to the community office, all the phone calls, all the 911 calls for cannabis being smoked in public, coming from Native Son is on the record. So those aren't lies. And the daily trash that we see with your brand on the bag in front of us on the sidewalks and on the streets is not lies. It's true. Those things are happening. And you planted no trees. They are small bushes. The word trees should not be used ever again in this context, and half of them are dying. No trees have been planted on your property. And you did cut down healthy trees. One branch fell in one storm. That's it. We've been on the street for 15 years and one branch has fell in one storm. We have a picture of that too. So all those trees that you cut down were completely healthy. It's clear what you tried to do. You wanted to open up.
Okay, Brendan, I'm gonna cut you off because you did speak already. Additional testimony can be submitted in writing to cannabisboard@boston.gov. So the board will take this matter under advisement. Those were all the matters before the board today. The board's voting meeting will take place next Wednesday, March 20th at 1 p.m. The information to access the voting hearing will be on our website, boston.gov/cannabis. Again, the record will be kept open until next Tuesday, March 19th at 5 p.m. Thank you all for attending today's hearing and enjoy the rest of your day.